Hello. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning, everybody. Okay. The moderator recognizes himself. He's the one with the microphone talking to you. Okay. We've got a unique situation this year in that there is COVID going around again. So we recommend that everybody wear a mask. It is not mandatory. With that being said, it's going to be difficult to hear. So it's really important that you use this microphone. Louis Lapierre is going to be running it around to you. So wait for him and please speak into the microphone and announce your name so that everybody knows who's speaking. First of all, because of this COVID thing, I'm going to call on the town health officer, Carl Stein, to give a very brief explanation of what's going on, okay? Here's Carl. Oh, okay, then you can give it to him.
Okay. Hi, good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming. Great turnout. All I wanted to say to you is we are having a current, as of today, outbreak in Greensboro. I know of many cases right now. I do recommend you do that. Also, just a reminder, get your vaccinations if you haven't. If you're over 60 and you do get COVID, please consider taking or asking your primary care if you should be taking Paxlovid. There's been I've been getting a lot of questions about this. There's a lot of misinformation out there. It is working. It is helping keeping people out of the hospital. But your primary care person can give you your best advice. Okay? Thank you.
Okay, Valdi, you had a question?
Are there any more masks?
Are there any more masks?
All right, thank you.
Okay, so a bunch of announcements before we get going. Okay, first of all, this meeting is being filmed. Kyle Gray is in the back of the room. He's filming it. There's also a camera up here. So he's asking that we keep this aisle clear if we can, because he apparently wants to look at me. The sixth grade has prepared lunch for us. At some point, I'll ask them to come up and tell you what the menu is. People who are not on the checklist can only speak with the permission of the body here. And usually the way I do, so if you have somebody from outside coming in who's not on our checklist, if they want to speak here, I need to ask you if you will allow them to speak. So basically what I say is, with no objections, we'll allow John Sousa to speak, okay? Okay, there's copies of the warnings over here, I believe, by the cookies. There's a picture of what the Rural Edge has in mind for the town hall. The library has a display. There's a community garden display, efficiency display, Save Energy Northeast Kingdom, Habitat, Rural Arts, Recycling, Northeast Kingdom Broadband. And over here are the polls, which are open from 10 until 7. That's for the presidential primary and for the advisory vote for Mountain View School. And the Hazen budget. And the Lakeview budget. Listen, folks. I've got a hearing problem. And if there's any noise going on around here, I can't hear you. So I'm going to ask you to please raise your hand, announce who you are, and have Louis give you the microphone. Otherwise, I may not even recognize you, okay? Let's see, what else can I talk to you about? I guess that's about it. Yeah, and we've got the Justices of the Peace. Your Justice of the Peace volunteers are pitching in to be election officials, okay? So here we go. We ready for the town meeting? Yay. All right. The legal voters of the town of Greensboro, Vermont are hereby warned and notified to meet at the Lakeview Elementary School, 189 Lordon Avenue in said town on Tuesday, March 5th at 10 a.m. to transact the following business. We'll go through these one at a time. Article 1, to elect a moderator to govern said town for the coming year. What is your pleasure? Clive Gray has nominated me, Tim Nisbet, to be your moderator. Are there further nominations? Seeing none, all in favor of Tim Nisbet being your moderator for the next year, say aye. Those opposed? Thank you. I'm going to ask that the folks at the polling station please whisper, okay? Because I really am having a hard time hearing. Thank you. Article 2, to take action on the Town of Greensboro's 2023 annual report. And a motion would be in order to accept the town report. Motion from Clive to accept the annual report. Is there a second? I see a second. Okay. So here is where you can make any changes or alterations to the town report that you've noted. And I will make the first one. On the warning, it lists that we will be electing a Mountain View Union School elementary director for 2 years. We will not, because that election was held last week on Tuesday. Okay? Any other changes to the town report? Seeing none, the motion on the floor is to accept the town report as printed and modified. All in favor will say aye. Aye. Those opposed will say no. You've passed it. Article 3, to elect town officers and town and school district officers required by law and one or more library trustees. We'll go through these one at a time. Select Board, a 3-year term. This is a ballot vote if there is a contest. Are there nominations? Mavis has nominated McNeil. McNeil, would you accept this? Yes. He would. Okay, other nominations. Peter.
I nominate Gary Sacosta. He's not here, but he said he would run if he would serve.
Okay, we have a contest. We have Gary Sacosta. We don't need a second, excuse me. So we have Gary Sacosta, we have McNeil. Are there further nominations for Select Board member? A 3-year term. Seeing none? Peter?
Can we hear from him?
Okay, we want to hear from the candidates. McNeil?
My name is McNeil. I live at 914 Craftsbury Road. The reason I'm interested in running for Select Board is over the decades I've been on various committees, boards, and commissions in Greensboro from 3 different school boards. I'm currently on the Hazen Union School Board. I've been on the Planning Commission a couple of times. On the Planning Commission, I developed and worked with a subcommittee interested in housing. So housing is a subject I'm very interested in pursuing. I'm currently on the Development Review Board, which is concerned with administering the zoning bylaws. What I've found over time with all the different committees that I have served on is inevitably sort of the decisions that affect the town are made on the level of the Select Board. And to me, it seems like it's a logical time, what with talking about developing more housing at the town hall, the issues we are facing with this school and trying to keep the school open, and a lot of various issues that are affecting the town now, I can probably be most effective in supporting the town by being on the Select Board. Thank you very much.
But Gary is not here. Would anybody like to speak to him? Eric?
Yes, I cannot speak to McNeil. I've not worked with him on any issues. I can speak to Gary Sacosta, however. Since the flood in July, there's been no one on the Select Board that has worked harder, with the exception of Peter Romans, on FEMA and documenting where we stood on the flood and trying to get federal reimbursement. He has been invaluable. Secondly, There is no one on the select board that knows more about the budget of Greensboro than Gary Sakasta. The HERF, the Highway Equipment Reserve Fund, the Capital Fund, he was the one who developed the various scenarios. Line items, he knows them for the intimate details. It's fair to say Brett Stanshew, the treasurer, is here, and she worked very effectively with Gary this fall on the budget, and so I would support Gary to continue on the select board.
Okay, any questions for anybody? So the procedure is, we have a ballot box. Do we have a checklist? I got it right here. Yeah, we have a checklist, and what do you want to do it over here? Okay, so we have a ballot box, we have little pink pieces of paper. If you don't have your own, we will be over here to collect your ballots for either Gary or McNeil. Forward your ballots. Yeah, oh yeah, there'll be an order. So come down along this side of the building and back out. Here's the result of the election. There was 108 ballots cast. Therefore, needed to elect would be 55. McNeil had 58. Gary had 50. So you've elected McNeil as your select board member. Okay, to make things easier, if we do have another paper ballot, I'm going to divide the audience by alphabetically, just to make it move through quicker, okay? So that's what we'll do. So next office is that of a select board, a member for a 2-year position. What is your nominations?
I nominate Gary Sircosta. Gary Sircosta.
Okay, Gary Sircosta has been nominated as select board member for 2 years. Are there other nominations? McNeil? Ellen Selnick has been nominated for a 2-year position. Are there other nominations? Okay, seeing none, hang on a second. We're going to make a decision. Where's the checklist? So if your name ends in L, this way, form one line over here. Okay, where's our microphone? Louis? Over to Janet.
Is it working? Yeah, I would like to withdraw my nomination. I didn't realize I would be taking a person off the board.
So Janet has withdrawn her nomination for Gary. Are there other nominations for select board member? Okay.
I nominate Gary Sircosta.
Okay, so we're back to having Gary Sircosta and Ellen Selnick on your ballot, okay? Other nominations? So, we're going to split the checklist in half. So, Mavis?
I'm just curious if Ellen was going to make a statement.
Okay, let's hear a statement from Ellen. Excuse me.
Hi, I just want to thank everybody and for giving me the honor of working on the select board for the last 2 years. It's always a tough decision because it is a complicated and complex position, and I'd be happy to continue to run again. I too have worked on the planning commission with Neil, and I have was involved with the last town plan. I have sat in on every select board meeting, even a year before I ran for the select board, but I was there as a public member because I wanted to understand the workings of the town. I've done worked on the budget committee the last 2 years, and last year I was involved in working on the HERF and the capital budget, along with some other help from the public when Gary was unable to work on it. It's always a tough one running against somebody that you've been on the select board with, but I feel that we've started to do a lot of really important work related to housing, related to what we need in terms of infrastructure, like the roads, and some of what I'm hoping to accomplish is that we need to look forward and look at what type of infrastructure needs to be put in as things have become more and more complicated with state money and federal money and grants and all kinds of stuff. So I hope that you vote for me, and I look forward to serving you again. Thank you.
Okay, so if your last name begins with A through L, come around here and see Kim. If it starts at K and goes through Z, come see me right up here, okay? We'll do this quicker this time. Forward your ballots. Has everybody voted for select board who wishes to? The ballot box is closed. We will count the ballots. While we're doing that, with your permission, would you like to hear from Catherine Sims, our local representative? I take that's an affirmative, so Catherine, you're on.
Come on now.
Come on down.
Thanks. Hi, Greensboro. What an awesome turnout. Happy town meeting day. This is one of my favorite days where everyone gets to be a citizen legislator and weigh in on the business of the town. So thanks for showing up and being a part of this conversation. I'm here to share a little bit of an update about what's happening in Montpelier, and if there's time, would love to answer any questions that you might have. And I'll start just by recognizing and acknowledging that the last couple of years have been pretty tough. They've been a test, I think, of our true grit here in the kingdom. And, I won't remind you all of the hardships that our community faces, because I think we all know them. We're living them every day. We're witnessing them in our community. But I'm also feeling that our rural communities, including Greensboro here, are really strong and resilient. And at the same time, we face some challenges that are unique to small rural communities. And so I see it as my job in the State House to show up and make sure that our challenges and our values aren't forgotten, and that we're fighting for a future where everyone in Greensboro can thrive. So where are we in this session? Revenues have gone back down to kind of pre-pandemic normals. And we no longer have that federal stimulus that we've had for the last several years that have kind of boosted our budgets and allowed us to do some kind of big one-time transformational things. And so that means as legislators, we're making some really tough choices. We're not going to get to do everything that we want to this year. And so we're being really realistic, and we're focused on the issues that matter the most. We are about halfway through the session. to that crossover time when the House sends all of the bills we've been working on to the Senate and vice versa. Housing is certainly a top priority. So cool to see the designs for the town hall project that Rural Edge is taking on, and the 24 units that might bring more housing to our community, help fill up the classrooms here in Greensboro. So knowing that this is a top priority for our community, I started the session off working with a tripartisan group of legislators and working alongside the governor to introduce H719, a housing bill that would seek to reform Act 250 and provide strategic investments to address the housing crisis in our community. See, that bill unfortunately did not move ahead right away in the House, but I worked with folks in the Senate to add much of the bill into S311, a housing bill in Senate Economic Development that is moving forward, that would help make it more financially viable to renovate and build housing where it's smart and sustainable in our downtowns, and preserve and protect the character of our rural working landscape. Another thing that I'm focusing on this session is flood recovery and disaster response, knowing that increasingly our communities are vulnerable to the changes in weather, and that our smaller communities that don't have the same infrastructure or human and financial capacity as other communities are really vulnerable. So I introduced a bill that would stand up a program to provide more support to communities, especially small rural communities, to get the help they need planning and preparing for future disasters. And much of that bill has been integrated into another Senate bill, S311, that is moving forward. In the meantime, I'm pleased to report that in the Budget Adjustment Act that the House and the Senate just passed, we added flood recovery money to provide immediate relief for communities that were impacted by the flood. And I'm pleased to report that Glover will receive $221,000 through the Budget Adjustment Act to help cover part of the town's match requirement to draw down federal FEMA dollars and to offset some of the economic losses of the flood. So trying to provide immediate relief to communities that were impacted by the flood while we have longer-term conversations about how we become more resilient in the face of climate change. The last thing I'll touch on that we're doing is, you will not be surprised, school budgets and property taxes have been a very contentious issue this year. And rightfully so, with early estimates projecting overall education spending going up by $250 million over last year, and leading to estimates of maybe up to 20% increase in property taxes, which I know is untenable for Vermonters. Serving on House Ways and Means, one of the committees that deals with education and finance, been digging into this issue a lot and hearing a lot of testimony from schools and principals and others about how we find a way forward that supports our kids and doesn't put undue pressure on property taxpayers. As I think you all know, local spending decisions are made locally. So our school boards are doing really important work, responding to many pressures that schools are facing, increase in healthcare costs, deferred maintenance in buildings, inflation, the end of federal COVID stimulus dollars. So there's a lot of pressures on our schools right now. And you all as voters today are getting to weigh in on that budget. So you all are making the decisions about what the needs are for spending in education this year. And then the legislature will set property tax rates to raise the necessary revenue to cover that obligation to meet our spending needs. We have done a few things over the last several years to try to address some of those challenges, including passing Act 127, which adjusted the education funding formula to better account for the needs of educating high-poverty rural communities and increasing our taxing capacity so that we can provide resources without impacting local tax rates. This session, we also passed H580, which repealed the 5% property tax cap that we put in place as a temporary measure to help soften the transition to the new education funding formula. But that tax cap wasn't working the way that we expected. It was inadvertently driving some additional spending in other districts in other parts of the state, which was driving up spending. So we repealed that cap, which will create an incentive for schools to rework their budgets, bring down some of that spending, and hopefully bring down the projected property tax increases. We'll know in the next couple of weeks as that plays out, hopefully how much progress we're making there. And then we're also looking at other ways that we can mitigate the property tax increases by finding other revenue, and also looking at how we might fix our education funding formula moving forward to make it easier to understand. Easier to understand how local decisions affect tax rates, how we think about the pressures on our schools, how we meet those needs and balance what property taxpayers can afford. So hard at work at all of that. I'm so glad that you're all here to weigh in on your school budget today. I will close just by saying it is a privilege to represent Greensboro in Montpelier. Making sure that we are talking about solutions that work for all of Vermont, not just Chittenden County, but our rural communities. And one of the ways that I'm able to do that work is as the co-chair, one of 3 co-chairs of the Rural Caucus. We are a tripartisan group that comes together to advocate for rural Vermont. With 60 members and chairpersons from each party, our group is able to come together and advocate for change in a way that we wouldn't be able to alone. And we still have a long way to go before we get to adjournment in mid-May, end of May. And hearing from you all, knowing what your perspective is, helps me do my work better. So I encourage you all to email me, text me, call me, drop in my monthly office hours, because I love to hear what your needs are, what your ideas are, what your concerns are. I'd also encourage you to check out my website and sign up for my monthly newsletter if you'd like more regular updates about what's happening in Montpelier and how it affects you. And I did bring with me copies of a town meeting day report and left a whole stack over there if you want to get a more in-depth report of where things are at, and it has all my contact information as well. So again, it's an honor to serve for you and to fight for the future of our communities and make sure that our unique perspectives are heard at the table. And I'd be happy to answer any questions if the moderator allows.
Four concerns. One is we need more rural community transportation, way more, especially for elders. Second thing is, how do these 3 things affect our budgets for education? One is legalized sports gambling, which recently came into play. Do we get any funds from the sale of marijuana products? And the third, income was supposed to be from the lottery for our education fund. What happened to that money?
Yeah, thanks for all those questions. So first, public transportation, a huge barrier for rural communities. And our nonprofit partner up here, RCT, Rural Community Transportation, does really vital work. And they are innovating in some exciting ways to figure out how to provide more kind of user-friendly, on-demand microtransit. One thing that I've learned talking to Caleb Grant, the executive director for RCT, is that the underlying funding formula for how we reimburse for public transportation doesn't work for our rural communities. They are reimbursed by the number of Medicaid riders, regardless of whether that person needs 1 ride or 100 rides in a month, and regardless of whether they drive that person 1 mile or 50 miles. And so you can imagine public transit that's funded in that way in our urban downtowns, they don't have the same costs because they're not driving folks as far. So I've been working with Caleb and Senator Kitchell to look at how we can update the underlying funding formula so that it works better to meet the needs of our rural communities because transportation is so vital. Your questions were other revenue sources that go into the statewide ed fund. So we have a statewide ed fund, and there's a bunch of different revenue sources that pool in that together. About 30% of the revenue comes from property taxes. The balance is made up from liquor and lottery, sales tax, and a number of other sort of smaller revenue sources. So yes, sports wagering has brought in additional revenue that is going into the statewide ed fund. And the cannabis tax also is going into a dedicated fund for after-school programming. So for the first time ever, we now actually have some significant resources beyond the federal 21st Century grants to fund after-school programming and the kind of mixed delivery model that we offer. So the Agency of Education is rolling out a grant program to help provide more support for after school. And the concept here being one of the most vulnerable times for our kids is 3 to 5, after school and before parents get home from work, and making sure that every kid has access to a safe space and enrichment opportunities is really vital for the future of our kids. So thanks for the question. Anyone else?
Other questions or comments for Catherine?
What is the tax different on cannabis than it is on alcohol and tobacco?
And you mean the tax rate or the use?
Isn't the tax considerably more on marijuana than it is on alcohol and tobacco?
That's a great question. I do not know that off the top of my head, but I would love to get back to that and you on that. I think my understanding would be that we are trying to balance developing a legal market.
But alcohol and tobacco do huge damage to our society. So we just pretend it doesn't.
I mean, I think...
a lot of money. A lot of money.
So am I hearing you say that you would like to see taxes on cannabis reduced to be more... You'd like everything to go up? Yeah. Yeah, I hear that. And I think sometimes that's balanced with sort of progressivity. Often lower income Vermonters spend a higher proportion of their income on consumptive taxes, which leads to a higher tax burden for low and moderate income Vermonters when we focus on consumptive taxes as opposed to more income-based taxes, which are more progressive. But I hear you and I appreciate that. I will say that one piece of cannabis tax legislation that we'll be dealing with in House Ways and Means this year is revisiting the license fees for cannabis growers. Right now there's some inequities between indoor growers and outdoor growers, and looking to align the fee structure to be more in line with the potential revenue. Right now the outdoor grower licenses are pretty high compared to what an indoor grower pays, and looking to kind of right-size that to support kind of outdoor agriculture, which is such an important part of our working landscape here in Vermont.
I'm just looking at the financial. There's a lot of money there. And
Yes.
It costs us a huge amount of money to take people that are affected by it. I quit drinking 16 years ago. Could not have done it better than in my life.
Yeah, congratulations, and thank you. I hear and appreciate that feedback.
Other comments or questions for Catherine?
All right, well, thank you again, Greensboro. You all are awesome. Thanks for showing up and participating in town meeting today.
I have one more question, actually.
For Catherine?
Yes.
Louis, we get that to him.
I don't.
Yes, please. Terry.
I've lived in Greensboro for 35 years, and I've been walking for 35 years, and I've seen markets for my products completely disappear. Agriculture is different. When you look at the Vermont seal, you see a cow and you see a tree. Where's the tree? I know you're on the board, you're on this new forestry thing, and I'd like to get involved in that.
Awesome. I'd love to talk more. So,
But my question is, plastic is bad. But when I look out my window, I see 3 plastic barns going up. And I'm paying for it. But I don't have a market for my product. Last year, the price of softwood dropped 33% after the first of the year. Nobody even knew that. So why don't we build wooden barns instead of plastic barns? I'd have a market for my products. The carbon storage, no plastic, no fiber. Why do we have so much plastic in our society?
yeah, thank you for that. So our working landscape, right? Vital for Vermont, our agriculture and forestry. Vermont is 75% forested. We are the 4th most forested state in the nation. We Vermonters have been working and recreating in the woods for generations, and our forests provide critical products that we use in our everyday life. And when we build with wood and we, have wood tables and furniture, we're reducing our carbon footprint. And instead of building things out of plastic or concrete or steel, which have a tremendous carbon footprint, and we're providing local jobs, and there's energy security in that too. And yet, sort of first introduced to the crisis that our forest economy is facing, serving on House Energy and Technology 2 years ago. And my interest was really piqued, having done a lot of work in the agriculture space for a long time, to hear how threatened our forest economy is, sort of every piece of the value chain, and how little maybe most of us know about that. And so I worked with other legislators to put together a forest economy tour, and we went and visited logging sites and landowners and primary and secondary manufacturing all across the state, and we took what we heard and introduced an omnibus forest economy bill that led to an effort that just wrapped up a 10-year strategic plan, a forest future strategic roadmap for Vermont. We've had something like that for agriculture for a long time, and now we finally have something for Vermont that says, this is why forests matter and why our forest economy is critical and the challenges that it faces, and recommends a whole bunch of strategies that will guide the legislature's work in the coming years to make sure that there is a market that's working better to support folks in the industry. And in the short term, I'll just, it did also introduce 2 bills related to the forest economy this year. One is H128, an Act 250 reform bill that looks at some changes around accessory on-farm businesses, but also forest-based businesses like sawmills and wood chip operators. That just passed out 10-0 of House Agriculture and Forestry, and now it's in House Energy and Environment. Shout out to Will, who's a committee assistant serving every day in the State House on that committee. He's doing awesome work to make sure that committee stays on track. So we're looking at Act 250 reform to help better support forest-based businesses. And we're also working with the House Agriculture and Forestry Committee to pass H624, which would provide a reimbursement payment for loggers for water quality best management practices. This is something that's modeled after a program in New York and recognizes the vital work that loggers do maintaining water quality, and also how it is harder and harder to make a living. I mean, look outside. It's supposed to be frozen right now. The number of work days that our loggers have had in the woods this winter is a fraction of what it should be. I was talking to one larger operator the other day. He's $800,000 below where he was last year. And that was a bad year to begin with. And so if we want to be able to buy wood products or heat our homes with wood, we need to make sure that every part of that economy is working, from foresters to loggers to markets here to take your wood. So I hear you. Thank you for your work, and anyone who wants to work with me on this issue, let me know. There's a lot of work to be done, but our future working landscape and ability to mitigate climate change depends on it.
And I'm off to one last town.
My name is Terry O'Connor.
Okay, you remember a while ago we had a vote for select board, which was a 2-year position. There were 111 votes cast, therefore needed to elect would be 56. Ellen received 68, Gary received 43. You've elected Ellen as your select board member for 2 years. The next office is that of Cemetery Commissioner, a 3-year position. This is not a ballot vote unless there's a contest. The current commissioner whose term expires today is Patsy Mercier. What is your pleasure? No, Patsy Mercier is nominated. Is there any other nominations? Okay, we have a move that the clerk cast 1 ballot for Patsy Mercier. Is there a second? Okay, all in favor of the clerk casting 1 ballot for Patsy Mercier as your cemetery commissioner, 3-year position, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? The ayes have it. Library trustee. We have 2 library trustees to elect. These are both 3-year terms. forward your nominations for library trustee. Yes, who's that? Beth. Lewis.
Can I nominate for both positions? I would like to nominate Jennifer Lucas and Van Watkinson for the 2 3-year terms.
Okay.
Jennifer Lucas.
I couldn't understand either one of those, so try it without the mask.
Without the mask,
Yep.
I would like to nominate Jennifer Lucas and Van Watkinson for the 2 3-year terms.
Okay. Other nominations? First of all, would those two accept? Jennifer? Yes. And how about Fan? Is Fan here?
She's traveling.
She's traveling. Would she accept this nomination?
Yes.
She would. Okay. Are there any other nominations for library trustees? Seeing how we need to elect 2, and we have 2 running, it makes sense to vote for 2 for this position. All in favor of that would say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. You've elected Fan Watkinson and Jennifer Lucas as your library trustees. Okay, next is the collector of delinquent taxes, a 1-year term. This is a ballot vote unless there's not a contest. What is your nominations for collector of delinquent taxes?
I nominate Janet Long.
Janet Long is nominated. Are there other nominations? A motion would be in order for the clerk to cast 1 ballot for Janet Long as your collector of delinquent taxes. Is there a second? The motion on the floor is that the clerk cast 1 ballot for Janet Long as your collector of delinquent taxes. If you're in favor, you'll say aye. Aye. Those opposed will say no. We have one no, and the rest are. So I believe that you've elected Janet as your collector of delinquent taxes. Trustee of Public Funds, a 3-year position currently held by Peggy Lipscomb, 3-year position. What is your pleasure? Anybody want to be the trustee of public funds? Yes, Jennifer.
What does a trustee of public funds do?
The question is, what does the trustee of public funds do? Is there an answer?
Off the top of my head, it controls.
Kim?
Oh, sorry. The trustee. It's off again. Okay, let's see. Okay. Can you hear me? No? Hello? Okay. So the trustee of public funds, what it does is, okay. I believe what the trustee of public funds is, and no one has ever actually done anything since I can remember here, but it takes care of some of the money that is invested in trust that we have. I think we have one account that is, Brett, is that beach or?
So I've never done anything with it.
Okay, sorry. I believe it has to do with taking care of money that we have invested in trust. And I don't know if we actually have any of that. It's one of those standard offices that has been on the books forever. And so we have that. I'm sorry, I can't be any more accurate on that. If anybody wants, I can look it up. Nothing's been discussed, so I'm afraid I didn't have that off the top of my head. Sorry.
Seems to be one of those offices that doesn't get a lot of use. Nancy?
Who's our current one? Peggy.
Currently, Cheryl Lumsden and Peggy Lipscomb are your trustees of public funds. So are there any nominations for trustee of public funds? Okay, the name of Peggy Lipscomb is in front of you. Are there other nominations? Peggy, would you accept that? She would. Okay, I don't see any other nominations. All in favor of Peggy Lipscomb as being your trustee of public funds, say aye. Aye. Those opposed? She's elected. Congratulations. Okay, in your warning, We're going to skip over Mountain View Union Elementary School Director because that position has been filled as of the annual meeting of that district. So the last election is that of Hazen Union School Director, 3-year term, currently held by David Kelly.
Nominate David Kelly.
David Kelly's been nominated. Other nominations? Would David Kelly accept that? He is not here.
Yes,
He would.
really.
Okay. Yes,
I have a question.
Victoria, hang on, please.
How come the Hazen Union Director is
Hang on,
different?
right?
How come the Hazen Union Director vote is any different than the Mountain View Union vote? They're both union school districts, when they both have been voted on at the school district meeting that happened, last week, I think
Yep.
it was? Sorry.
So your question is, why do we elect a Hazen Union Director, but we do not elect a Mountain View Director? Good question. I believe Erica has an answer to that.
As they explained, my name is Dorothy Healer, I'm the clerk of the Mountain View Union School District. As they explained last Tuesday night, that because of the way that the articles of agreement were made, when Hazen was made as union, it's different than when Mountain View was made a union, which was, 2019. So, in the articles of agreement for Mountain View, all the directors are elected at the annual meeting currently. Without, and that's the articles of agreement.
Okay. So her answer was that at the Mountain View meeting, they're elected at the annual meeting of the Mountain View School District. And this is the way that school district was set up. Hazen was set up differently. So, Mike? Mike, you need a mic.
Yeah, Hazen Union was formed in 1969, actually maybe in 68, and the three towns that owned it had to do with putting together the structure of the union school. When the state legislature told Greensboro Elementary School, which would be on Lakeview Union, Hardwick Elementary, and Woodbury Elementary, that they were going to be formed into a union. The state legislature and the State Board of Education required that structure. So the other night at the Mountain View Union Elementary School District meeting, people from all the towns voted on the representation from Standard, from Greensboro, from Hardwick, from Woodbury in Lakeview Union. And so that's essentially, I'm agreeing with what Marley said. But that's the background. It had to do with the way the union was set up and under what rules, because they were done 60 years apart or 50-something years apart.
Okay, so we have a nomination on the floor. Excuse me, we have a question from Penny.
So I'm assuming from what you said, the person elected recently is a Greensboro person?
Yes.
Okay.
Daria Messina.
Okay, are you ready for the question? The only nomination for Hazen Union School Director is that of David Kelly. All in favor of David Kelly as being your Hazen Director for 3 years, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? He's elected. Okay, I meant to do this a little bit earlier, but we are going to now move into our annual Greensboro Awards. I meant to do it earlier in the meeting, but I didn't. My mistake. So I'm going to turn this over to the Select Board.
I'd just like to make one announcement of a decision made by the Select Board recently. Peter Roman's reached his 10-year anniversary of service on the Greensboro Select Board this year. For most of that time, Peter has been the chair of the Select Board. The 10-year anniversary is known as the Tin Anniversary for its strength and resilience. Peter's strength and resilience were abundantly evident this summer. No one worked harder or gave more to help Greensboro recover from the devastation of the summer floods. Peter worked day and night without pay, leading and coordinating the recovery efforts. Confronting almost overwhelming needs and demands, Peter kept a steady hand on the wheel and steadfastly helped Greensboro through one of its most trying times in our history. For his selfless devotion, the Select Board voted unanimously to make Peter the Person of the Year 2023. I hope you'll join me in congratulating Peter. Come on, get up there, get up there.
It certainly wasn't unanimous because I had nothing, I had no knowledge of any of this. But thank you, appreciate it. Yeah, it was a stressful year, and among other things, the flood, but we've got other things going on, so thanks very much, appreciate it.
We're also going to take a little bit of a break and hear from Rural Edge. We have Ben and Patrick here to speak about, if you recall, a year ago, we spoke about a possibility of renovating the town hall into housing. So here is the update a year later.
Good morning. I'm Patrick Shattuck. I'm the Executive Director of Rural Edge. And with me is Ben Sturts from Evernorth. They are a development partner on this project. If you recall, last year I was before you and we discussed a topic that we hear about every day. We heard about it already this morning, the need for housing and how we can bring more housing to Greensboro. I was so impressed by your community's commitment and support to look at housing opportunities and repurposing your buildings and finding a place for folks to actually live in Greensboro. That is so rewarding to me as someone who spent 30 years in this. So kudos to all of you for your support of this and for encouraging this. So last year, when I was here, we sort of talked about a process which your select board reviewed and approved. We sort of said, ultimately, housing would be best case scenario, a 3-year program. We'd look at about a year of feasibility work, a year of funding applications, and then a year of construction. So that when I was here last year, we were saying sort of best case scenario would be spring of 26. We are on track for that. We have spent a lot of time and resources in looking at the building, in looking at the market, in working on environmental issues, which include septic design, in looking at different levels of affordability, in dealing with the State Historic Preservation Office, in looking at how the town hall, the original schoolhouse, would be preserved and really maintain that important sense of place, how there would be green space retained for community usage, and how we would help to create housing for folks who might need to downsize, but also housing units for families. So important to keep kids in the school here locally. And so we really looked at the building and looked at the site. And I have a handout which sort of answers everything we said we'd look at and sort of the findings. The summary is, first thing we investigated was septic capacity. When we did that, they said, well, there are wetlands and there's potential for archaeological investigation. So we brought in wetlands experts. We brought in a consulting archaeologist. So we determined, check, there is the ability to deal with septic on site. For Representative Sims mentioned 24 units. That's originally what we were looking at. Ultimately, the design we've got, which is in its schematic design phase, so things would change, has 20 units. So we checked that off. We brought in the Division for Historic Preservation because we know they have a lot of say on how historic buildings are treated. And we worked with our architects and consultants to look at the building to say, how do we respect this historic building, its prominent location and importance in the village, but also create a sensitive addition and make the building sustainable and energy efficient. And we all walked in and saw the tin interior and said, wow, we've got some interesting challenges. We've worked through that. We've got approval from the division on our conceptual plans. We looked at laying out units. We did environmental studies. It's in here. We tested for asbestos, lead, and PCBs. It's an old building. They're all in there, but they're all able to be dealt with. We looked at environmental issues. Yep, there's an underground storage tank. There were some compact fluorescent lights in 2016 in the recycling yard that require some additional investigation, but nothing that's insurmountable. So we pulled together a program that would result in 20 units and really included sort of all of these details in here, sort of what we're looking at for affordability levels, rents, incomes of folks to be served, you know, looking at 8 one-bedroom units, 10 two-bedroom units, and 2 three-bedroom units. So if you just look at the excess units, that would be an increase of 14 students to the school. If you just had 1 kid per bedroom, we know historically you see more than that. We did a market study and we found out some things. Only 13% of the people who work in Greensboro live in Greensboro. We know that's really important to your community. It is so admirable that so many of you are here. But boy, we really want you to have more neighbors, and you've acknowledged the need to have more neighbors. And so we really think we've pulled together a proposal that addresses that creates something sustainable, creates a real asset for the community, brings housing for the diverse folks who want to live in your community. And you know, are looking to be on track if things move forward on that initial schedule that I talked about. This is about a $10 million project. Representative Sims talked about making sure there are resources brought back to the kingdom. We want to make sure that they go to the kingdom, to small communities, because we know how dire the housing issue is for your community. And we at Rural Edge and Evernorth aren't just committed to doing rental housing. Rural Edge is also provides homebuyer education classes. We're actually offering one in Greensboro in June because we know potentially we might have some folks downsizing, moving from large homes into a single bedroom unit. Let's find buyers locally who'd be able to buy their houses, the next generation of homeowners. We also have the VHIP program, which provides grants of up to $50,000 to property owners to create accessory dwelling units, rental units, so that property owners can help us address this need. We've already got 2 accessory dwelling units that we funded in Greensboro, and at the end of this month, we're going to have a new tranche of funding approved that will fund another 120. So we'd love to help you bring some of those units and those resources to your community. So there's a whole lot of detail, a lot of small print, but I wanted to keep it to 1 page. So I invite you to read that. My contact information's there. We've got a rendering and some elevations of what we propose. Again, these are schematic designs, so things will change, but we wanted to give you an idea of what we spent the last year working on and how we hope to put it into action in Greensboro. And I'm happy to take any questions.
Questions for Patrick?
We are a nonprofit organization. Yep, we have over 700 units across the Northeast Kingdom, rental units. We have a homebuyer education center. We also have the SASH program, which is support and services at home. So that would actually be in the building. So for elderly and disabled residents, we do service coordination and wellness nursing. That's available for residents in our buildings, but also for the larger community, so that would be a resource that we would bring to help elderly and disabled residents remain active and engaged in their communities.
Did you say 120 funding for 120 ADUs in Greensboro alone?
No. It's for ours is for the kingdom. So we're going to have 120 ADU units. It's first come, first served. So we did do a presentation that was actually in East Craftsbury probably 6 months ago, but had about 35 folks, lots of folks from Greensboro. And from that, we've already funded 2 in Greensboro and have more interest. So glad to see and happy to promote that opportunity for folks.
Hi there, Patrick. Liz Steele. I would be interested to know, did you look at the configuration for the town hall offices? Because when you presented at the select board meeting, there were some challenges around.
Sure. So it's included in the memo. Part of our initial analysis, including looking at the Grange building. And we reported to the select board in September, and it's on the town website, our report, that we looked at that Grange building, and boy, That's a difficult and expensive building. Because while there had been an architectural analysis done, it didn't take into considerations other conditions like wetlands and how you develop parking, or if you could develop parking. And while it wouldn't be insurmountable, it sure makes an expensive project. So our septic analysis included capacity for that building. It would run underground and have a shared leach field, so it could be reused. But as far as the town offices, we haven't included any housing in the lower level where the town offices are currently located. We believe that we could design improved town offices. We got approval from the Division for Historic Preservation to enlarge some of those windows down there because they actually were originally larger, and could create a really nice town office. It's accessible, have it completely separate from any housing, its own designated parking area. In that way, the town wouldn't have to maintain a big building, and we would return that building to the tax rolls and put it in use. So we've projected in our pro forma about $23,000 in annual tax revenue that would be coming in rather than not generating anything. And there would still be a place for the town offices.
Patrick, hi, I have the mic. I'm Megan Wayland. I wanted to ask, for $10 million, have other buildings been considered in Greensboro? I think that one of the things that I am struggling with when I hear about plans for housing in our communities is I know myself as a renter and other people like me, I would say, are looking for land and a home. We're looking for a way to participate in agriculture, to grow food, to live communally. And I'm wondering, are there ways that we can creatively look at $10 million and say, what's the opportunity for younger folks to be able to be in community in homes, and to participate in a different way in housing rather than maybe being in an apartment building?
Sure. We've been working with the Housing Committee for over 4 years. And during that time, we've looked at just about every site that came up. One thing we need is a patient seller. There are lots of patient sellers in the market we've been in who are willing to say, yes, do your year of feasibility. We'll take a property off the market while you investigate it. So we've looked at other properties. Two, I think that all of the funding agencies have funding priorities for multifamily housing. So that is why this one really works. It fits. It's village center, it's walkable, it's adjacent to services and shopping. I think to speak to your other point, our home ownership center has other programs. We have a shared equity program that we participate in that can get grants of up to 30% of the cost of acquisition for homes, for new home buyers. So that the goal is, this isn't the one opportunity we have to address housing needs. We want to work with folks to meet their housing needs through a variety of programs and initiatives.
Good morning, Jan Tervish, residents. My question is, you mentioned these are preliminary schematics. When the final design of this third phase, will the town be able to vote on this, or the community be able to vote before anything goes ahead?
So we have an option agreement with the town that basically lays out an agreement. Anything that we have has to go through permitting. So, your planning commission develops all of the requirements for local approvals. So all of those things have been considered as we have designed this property. Setbacks, required parking, so that we've done that. But, that is what your town, through its town plan and zoning, sets up.
One follow-up. Since it's a municipal structure, is there a difference? Because this is not like you're approaching a private seller. It is kind of public building, and so will there be like a public, will that question be put out to the public? Kind of or is it in trust?
Well, I would say that there is an option agreement, which is a legal document to provide site control. You know, it does put some performance benchmarks in there, but ultimately the sale of assets, I believe, is dictated by your select board.
Hi, Patrick. I just wanted to thank you for the work that you do here in Greensboro and in the Kingdom. And I wanted to put a word in for the ADU program. I'm one of the two who has been approved for the grant. I've received the initial payout, and I am very well into planning and starting the project. Groundbreaking has already happened. And I do think this is a really nice way to address one of the housing questions, especially Megan's question. My land is 18 acres. And with my ADU that is currently being put in will be the opportunity to do some farming on the land. And there's I know a lot of young people are looking for land to be able to grow on. And Greensboro is looking, obviously, for more people to grow food. Our farmers market needs vegetable growers, just putting that out there. But I think it's a great way for anybody who's thinking about, if you have land, especially if you have spare land, it's a way to get into it without really having a big investment. And the process of applying for the grant was incredibly easy. It was not cumbersome. I've applied for a lot of grants as a nonprofit worker myself, and it was probably the easiest grant I have ever applied for. So if you've thought about this and just put a little bit of thought into it, I would definitely encourage it and hope that other people will consider going down that route as well.
Thanks. That's what I like to hear, and I'll make sure to share that with my staff.
Are we all set with Patrick?
I think we've got one more.
Thank you, Davis Barnett. This is, at this point, just a proposal, correct? Nothing has been approved as far as go forward with the bill. Is that correct?
Well, so we're coming back to you. We had a community conversation, I would say, last town hall meeting. And as I said, there is an option agreement. So yes, this is a dialogue and we're reporting back. But the goal is to our goal is to respond to what was brought to us, a need for housing and the potential for this building. So, ultimately your select board makes those decisions. But we have brought forth, we've addressed the feasibility. We have a project that is feasible, and we think we have sort of addressed the community's goals as outlined. And we have incurred about $35,000 in costs in doing this. So there is, with the option agreement, really a sense of good faith that we are addressing the needs and want to move forward.
Well, thank you for your work. I agree that I think young people coming to a town like this probably do not want to live in an apartment, that this would be more probably suited for an older community, but not the young people that we really want to recruit to this town.
So basically, an option agreement is a form of site control. So like there's a purchase and sale agreement, it sets out terms under which a property is not marketed, and if those if those conditions are met, then the property is transferred under a purchase and sale agreement.
Ed, did you have a question?
Oh, Patrick, not really a question. The questions that you've answered over the last year in terms of environmental and structural and all the things that you had to go historical and what you presented, I just wanted to commend you and your organization for your work, and I know you've done some amazing work, particularly the former convent in Newport that is rather stunning. But I just wanted to thank you for your effort on behalf of our community.
Thank you all.
Can you hear me? Oh, yeah. Sorry. Actually, I'm speaking as somebody that was on the housing committee and having been on the Planning Commission. This has been more than a 4-year project from the Planning Commission and the Housing Committee. And we had a big community meeting where priorities were set, and Dan Pretel was involved in that. And more than, I think, 150 community members attended those. And just to sort of remind people, and Kent can probably speak more to this, is there was a housing survey, and out of that survey, there was a housing, sorry, sometimes words leave me, but there was a housing study done that's also on the website. And in answer to you, I mean, obviously, people don't want to live in apartments permanently, but one of the things that came out of the survey and the study was that we have 3 pretty large businesses. We've got Jasper Hill, we've got Hill's Brewery, we've got the nursing home, all of which are having difficulty getting employees and keeping employees. And part of the purpose would provide an opportunity for people to at least live where they work, and then give them an opportunity to meld into the community and eventually be able to buy a home or do things. So nobody kind of expected that, but you've got to give people a roof first before they can sort of move on. And we don't even have anything available. So that was one of the purposes. If Kent wants to speak to any history, I'm sure he can give you more detail since he's continued to work on the housing committee.
Nancy Riga, but just for clarity's sake. So what I'm hearing is people that have land, this is a question to you, people that have land in this town, I don't even have an acre, so I couldn't do this. But people that do have land could come to you and say, we'd like to blah, 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 so that maybe somebody could put another house on their property.
So an accessory dwelling unit requires the state passed a definition, which then made the criteria for this funding. And an accessory dwelling unit would be a unit secondary to an owner-occupied unit. So while you say you only have an acre of land, you might have an attached carriage barn, or your house might be too big for you. So you could create a second unit in your existing home, and you would still be eligible for the grant. And it's up to $50,000 in grant. And for the accessory dwelling unit, the restriction is you agree not to rent it more than HUD's published fair market rent for 5 years. So for a 1-bedroom unit, that's about $900 a month. And in exchange, you get $50,000. So that is a great incentive for folks, especially who may have extra space, say, why am I heating this other wing in the winter? Wouldn't it be nice to have some company or someone to help share the expenses to do that, and also help a neighbor have housing?
At the Craftsberry meeting, all the eyebrows went up when you used the phrase owner-occupied in the main house. And we looked into it, and I believe we found out that, well, let's take me, for instance. I have kids that could move into the main house, and then I would be in the accessory unit. And that's also allowed, right?
So in an accessory dwelling unit, it is creating a new unit. I don't want to get too much into the details because ultimately if there are gray areas, we go to the state. But yes, the goal is to create additional units, and then, you know, that's got the 5-year window, and then what happens after that, every restriction goes away.
But initially, I would have to be in the main house?
Well, we're creating an accessory unit, so the definition of the accessory unit is one that is secondary to the primary use.
Christine Armstrong, Greensboro Planning Commission. Our bylaws have been changed and will be looked at particularly around housing. The state has instituted S100, which requires some changes to our zoning bylaws, which is what we've had to do. An ADU is defined as a second structure, but the owner of the property can live there. It does not need to be, the ADU does not need to be occupied by a second person and you have to stay in the house. The ADU can be occupied by the property owner and they can rent out the main house. And I think it would be really nice to have another conversation with the community about this 20-unit addition, because it's not really been something that people have had a chance to talk about. And at this meeting, it sounds like people are more interested in the ability to make ADUs around town instead of a central.
Or both.
Thank you.
Yeah, and we've gone to a meeting. Our staff is very accessible to answer questions. If they're specific, we always get more guidance. And so, you know, our cards are there. All of the details on the program are from our website. So our goal is to be accessible and answer questions.
Could you address the septic system part of it?
Well, so as I said, we did a feasibility analysis. So a feasibility analysis tests soils. It tests, as I said, any wetlands areas, any archaeological areas which we couldn't use. And so that was done, and it was determined that there is capacity. So the next phase would be design development, when those engineers actually start designing the system. But we wouldn't move into that, we wouldn't have done the additional work if there hadn't been an extensive investigation that said there was the capacity to support what we propose.
What about parking for 20 units?
So as I said, your zoning lays that all out. So there is a site plan that includes the required parking per your zoning.
Okay, are we good with this?
Okay.
Thank you very much. Okay, I'd like to invite somebody from the kitchen crew, come up and give us a menu.
Okay, so today for a meal for an adult is $10 and $5 for children. And the beverages are $1 with the muffins over next to them. And so we have goulash or chili, and we have bear goulash and regular goulash. And we have mac and cheese with ham or without ham. We have greens, which is salads over there, and we have rolls, we have brownies and cookies. And so there's choices of beverages, there's iced tea or lemonade. And then there's also 50-50 raffle, $1 each.
Thank you. So this is all being brought to you by the Lakeview School 6th grade. And it's 12:05. Let's get back together at 1 o'clock and continue this meeting. Thank you. Okay. Moving along, the Hardwick Area Food Pantry, 2,500. Aware, $2,000. Northeast Kingdom Human Services. Clarina Howard Nichols Center, $1,500. Did I miss one? Northeast Kingdom Human Services, $1,524, excuse me. Moving along, Clarina Howard Nichols Center, $1,500. Caledonia Home Health, $1,400. Lamoille Family Center, $1,000. Northeast Kingdom Council on Aging, $1,000. Is everybody awake? It was a good lunch, wasn't it? RCT, Rural Community Transportation, $900. Orleans County Citizens Advocacy. Salvation Farms, $750. Orleans County Historical Society, $700. NVDA, Northeastern Vermont Development Association, $689. North Country Animal League, $600. Craftsbury Saplings, $500. NCRD, Vermont Council on Rural Development, $500. NEKCA, Northeast Kingdom Community Action, $300. Northeast Kingdom Learning Services, $300. Red Cross, $250. Vermont Center for Independent Living, $210. Green Up, $100. Okay, does anybody want to revisit any of these? Yes, Ariel.
Oriole Green, just because my mom recently was needing a lot of transport, I became more aware of that need in the community as well, and so I just wonder if that, you might want to consider more for the rural transportation. Can't remember what it's called.
RCT, so
Yes.
what would you like to do with it?
Well, can we increase it?
You can do whatever you like. You can propose whatever you like. RCT was asking for $900.
Okay, so they feel that's enough. So we go 1,200? I don't know, I just think there's a high need for it.
So are you proposing an amendment to change that from 900 to 1,200?
If that's what they could use, they could use it, yes.
Is there a second? I see a second in the back with Jane Johns. Discussion on the amendment to change RCT from $900 to $1,200. Bobby? And then Carol. Put your hand up, Bobby. There you go.
Bobby Nisbet, Greensboro. Conference Citizens here this morning talking about the need for transportation, and I agree with you, Ariel. We really need more transportation as we age in this area. So I'm wondering what's happening in the state as far as how it would work with the transportation company. And I wonder if maybe we ought to wait on that. Just a thought.
Carol, did you have a comment?
My question is just if we give them more money, will they give us more services? Seems like we need them.
Penny Brett Snyder. Carol, the rumors that come towards me is we're not getting good service up here in the Northeast Kingdom, and I'm not sure more money is going to change that at this point. I agree they need more money to give us more service, but I think we need to go through Catherine Sims and find out how we can get better service in the rural area, because she mentioned this morning it's not good. And she said something about a conflict of how they're funded, and that the director is saying they can't come to rural areas and make any money. So we need to know a little more. I'm in favor of them having more money if we can start getting service, because I've had lots of people tell me they can't get service, and that's not good.
Further comments on the amendment? You ready for the question? The question is an amendment to raise the appropriation of RCT from $900 to $1,200. If you are in favor, please say aye. Aye. If you're against it, please say no. No. Okay. Division, if you're in favor of raising $900 to $1,200, please put your hand in the air. If you're not in favor of doing that, please put your hand in the air. My reading is that the nays have it, so the amendment is defeated. We're still at $900 for RCT. Further discussion on any of these? Yes.
Oh, I'm Megan Whalen. I'm curious about NVDA. So they're our regional planning commission, and one of their responsibilities is to make sure that we have an updated emergency management plan for each municipality in the kingdom. I run this organization called Northeast Kingdom Organizing, NECO, and we were really involved in flood recovery all throughout the kingdom. And one of the things that we noticed is that there weren't updated emergency management plans in many of our municipalities. And so I would love to hear from Kim, I know that we work together to coordinate trash. That was really neither of our jobs. And it was an incredibly confusing process. And NVDA, in my opinion, wasn't anywhere to be seen. I wonder about funding an organization that may not have actually showed up for this community, and I'm curious if I just have a really limited perspective and would be really interested to hear from Ken and other folks if in fact they are doing their job.
NVDA does a lot for us. They're our regional planning commission. Mike Metcalf is our rep to NVDA. He probably can speak to everything that they do.
Yeah, for one thing, I am a representative for Greensboro to the Northeastern Vermont Development Association, which is both a planning commission and a development association. And among other things, you may have noticed in the paper recently that in Morrisville, there was a conflict where Morrisville had put into their town plan some things that other towns objected to. NVDA does send out a team every year when different towns put together a new town plan for the town to be eligible to get various grants. NVDA sends a team out that has representatives from each of the counties in the district that evaluates the town plan to make sure that it comports with the regional plan. And that is something that we have to make sure that they comport with neighboring towns' plans. So it may be, and I had not been aware of what you've been talking about, but I am aware that the town plans of the various towns have to comport with the town plans of other neighboring towns or other towns on the routes that go in and out of that. So it may be that there's more bureaucracy there that is well above NVDA, that's a state level mandate. I don't know that because I hadn't been aware of what you're talking about, but there are more complications than just the overall agency, which, by the way, I have been impressed watching NVDA both on the development side and on the planning side. I could look into information if you'd like to go farther on that.
Clive? You can stay sitting down if you want, Clive.
Clive Gray. NVDA was the mechanism by which the Greensboro Land Trust received a grant of $12,000 from a federal source for the Bar Hill Preserve and signage all the way from Porter Brook Nature Trail to the Bar Hill Nature Trail. So NVDA was very helpful to us in that regard.
Yes, Kent?
Yeah, Ken Hansen, I'm your planning commission chairman, and I just wanted to mention that we rely on NVDA pretty regularly to sort out planning, bylaws, zoning questions, what's the state newest law means. So they've been a great resource for us, and also do a lot of training and educational workshops for zoning, planning types. So been pretty helpful.
Naomi?
Mike, I don't know if you can answer.
Who are you?
I'm Naomi Ranch-Lifer. I don't know if you can answer this, or maybe it's an NVDA question, but I've heard a lot recently about MTAP funding, which is the Municipal Technical Assistance Program. And I don't believe Greensboro is pre-approved for that, but I know Craftsbury, Glover, and Albany are. So I don't know if that's something that we can get answers on, or we can get approved for that sort of funding from NVDA. Does anybody know anything on that?
Is that something that the planning commission might be part of?
I don't know, since you're the NVDA rep, I don't know if maybe that's something you knew or nobody knows.
It's not something that I've had any specific input into, but I can also look into it, see and tell me the legal names, whatever.
More discussion about appropriations. At this point, we have increased the bottom line by $2,300. We put $2,000 onto Hardwick Rescue Squad and $300 onto RCT, right?
That didn't pass.
Oh, it didn't pass. Excuse me. Thanks, guys. Shows that you're awake. I'm not. Okay.
He was just kidding.
I was just kidding, right? I don't think so. Okay, more discussion about appropriations. So the bottom line on the appropriations is going to be $96,823 because we increased Hardwick Rescue Squad by $2,000. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay. If you are in favor of that figure for your appropriations, please say aye. Aye. If you are against it, please say no. The ayes have it. Okay, now, Article 9, shall the town appropriate the sum of $500 to Neighbors in Action?
Ask if there's someone who can speak to that.
First of all, we need a motion on the floor to accept it, and then we can figure out what it is. Is there a motion? Carl, motion is seconded by Larry Lumsden. Okay, who can speak to this? Anybody know what it is? Cheryl?
Cheryl Lumsden, and I work with Neighbors in Action over in Cabot. It's a program that puts together food boxes, and they do meals for the communities or people who can attend. We go every other Wednesday and put together these boxes, well over 100 boxes of food for community people. And there are people in Greensboro, in Hardwick, in Standard. All of them go there and get boxes of food.
Did somebody have a question for Cheryl about that? Carl?
Cheryl, is this a new organization or has it been around for a while?
It was, I think it was called something else before, but it's now Neighbors in Action.
Could you repeat that, please?
They just bought the, I believe it was a Masonic temple in Cabot. They purchased it this past winter and are now, we were doing the boxes there anyway, but they now own the building.
And what was the name of it?
So the question was, is this a new organization or?
No, it was an organization that I believe was under another name.
It was Faith in Action.
Faith in Action.
The answer was, it was called Faith in Action. It's based in Cabot. And they prepare food boxes. Jane.
Jane Johns. And this Neighbors in Action, I believe, is the one that Louis Guzman was on TV for, raising money on Wheel of Fortune or one of those things. And he raised quite a bit for, because he lives in Cabot and he was helping them after the flood.
Okay, at front. Yep, coming at you.
Patty Sunday Winter.
Thank you.
I'm a member of Greensboro United Church of Christ, and I'm on the committee that administers the Pleasance Fund, which is a chunk of change that we do all kinds of community ministries and assist groups. This past year, we were asked to, we got a grant request, I can't remember all the specifics of what that was for. It was actually towards the purchase of the building for Neighbors in Action. And I had not heard of it at that point, but what we learned is the need for hunger relief has just skyrocketed in this area. And so Cabot regularly has people from Greensboro coming weekly to get food. And of course, that organization and Hardwick, no one gets turned away. So they are really on the process right now of establishing themselves and doing further outreach. They've already started a satellite program in Lindenville. I mean, that's just how the need is at this point. So generally, our funds usually go to kind of more local, but we decided that because of their reach and the need for hunger relief right now, that we wanted to support them as they try to grow that program and reach out to the area.
Okay, further discussion, questions? Yep. Carol.
Hi, Karen Fairbanks again. I just wanted to put in a word of support for Neighbors in Action too. I've been involved with them for the past 3 years, doing everything from helping to prepare food boxes to free community meals that they can come to in both locations, in Cabot and in Lindenville. Both have amazing uptake. There are a ton of people. They cannot even serve as many people as are coming to it. They also do food sovereignty education. They do classes to teach people how to be better able to manage what food they do have and what food budgets they have. So they have senior programming where the seniors can come into the building and do art classes. And they even have like a free pet food program. So if you are low income and you're having a problem feeding your pet, you can come and get dog and cat food. So they do so much for the community and they're almost invisible. Nobody knows they're there, but they are amazing.
Ken Johnston, why was this not included in our list we just voted on a few moments ago? Why was this a separate issue?
Because that's a new appropriation request by petition, we always put those as separate so you can look at that individually.
Eric Hansen. The numbers in Article number 8, which you voted on, and are numbers which the organizations give the town. As Kim was saying, they're not vetted by the select board or the budget. They come directly to you, just like, and since we haven't had Neighbors in Action before, it comes to you. Now, what I suggested, and these are all godmother and apple pie organizations. How can you be against food or health care, etc.? So what I suggested at the select board maybe is that instead of this long list like this, because this is going to be real money, 5% of the overall town budget, it might be better to set up a committee during the year to vet these kinds of organizations with maybe a ceiling each year that it exceeds no more than, let's say, 5% of the town's budget. Then to bring it to you and say, this has been vetted, we've asked questions, here, vote it up or down, and change any of them if you wanted to. But this, the select board has no control over this, and it's very difficult for most of us to say anything opposed to these organizations. Anyway, I raise that just as a possible future issue.
Jan Johnston, I just noticed in this extra thing, papers, that there was information regarding neighbors in need, and it says that as of July 2023, Greensboro Bend residents, there were 36 that did obtain food assistance through Neighbors in Need. So I wanted to just mention that our residents right here in Greensboro have benefited from this organization. You know.
Are we ready for the question? Question is, shall the town appropriate the sum of $500 to Neighbors in Action? If you are in favor, please say aye. If you are opposed, please say no. The ayes have it. Article 10, shall the town appropriate the following sums to the organizations listed below? And there are 5 of them. We'll look at them one at a time. We can talk about them one at a time, amend them up or down, and then we'll vote the sum. Greensboro Free Library, $41,000. Questions, comments? For or against? Greensboro Historical Society, $6,000. Caspian Lake Beach Committee, $4,500. Greensboro Recreation Committee, $4,000. Finally, Greensboro Conservation Commission, $3,000. The total amount is $58,500. Would you like to discuss any of these? Up or down, in or out? Yes, BJ.
I'm BJ Gray.
Thank you.
And I'm the president of the Greensboro Historical Society. And I'd just like to put a plug in for our museum. It's your museum, it's your history. Come out, be with us. We welcome you. We have refreshments at meetings sometimes. Rails to Trails will be the exhibit this summer. And if you have anything that you'd like to have recorded, Kyle Gray is very good at it, and he will record on the new machine anything you have to say, and it will be presented at the museum.
Questions, comments? Ready for the question? Nope, we got a question. Good. Got two of them.
Naomi Renshaker, I just had a quick question more of why the committee sums were in this section rather than in the budget as the town committees. I guess the library and the historical society was the committee one. I'm just curious.
Some of these are checks that are written directly to organizations, the Greensboro Free Library, Historical Society. Yeah, those. It's my understanding these are just been done historically as specific Greensboro organizations. Yep. In the last year or so, we took the Beach Committee, the Recreation. In the last few years, we took the Beach Committee, the Recreation Committee, and the Conservation Commission, and we put those as separate appropriations. If it's in the regular budget just as a line item, if that money isn't expended at the end of the year, those, whatever remains of those funds go back into the general fund. But the way this is written here, the Beach Committee, that money is written as a check or as a deposit that's put into a separate Beach Committee fund. It matches the amounts that are given, for instance, by the Hardwick Recreation, by the town of Hardwick. So it's slightly different that way.
There was another question. I saw a hand over here, I thought. I don't see it now. Oh, yes, I do. Jennifer?
I'm Jennifer Lucas. I'm the newly re-elected library trustee. I'm also the treasurer of the library. First of all, I want to say thanks to the select board because for all the hard work they've done in this budget. I attended several of the budget meetings and saw how much work that the select board and Brett and Kim put into this. So it's a very difficult task, and I appreciate it. You can see in the town report, Paula's Greensboro Free Library report, and you can see what a vibrant asset this is to the community. And by all measures, it's increased its services 40% over the last couple of years. For this year, the town's budget appropriation for the library is $41,000. It's up only 2.5% from last year. We had asked for more, but $1,000 was cut out of that. Payroll was the largest part of our budget, and that reflects a 3.2% increase in salaries, which is less than town employees' increases. We budgeted funds to pay for additional coverage so that the library will continue to function when volunteers are unavailable. To pay for the payroll increases, we plan to dip into our unrestricted reserves. You'll see that on page 39. Our budget does not include employee benefits such as health and retirement, and these are two of the fastest growing expenses of most towns and businesses. But at some point, though, we would like to provide benefits to our employees. For 10 months of the year, we operate a budget deficit until the town appropriation arrives in September, October, and then again until about 50% of our donations arrive in the end of December. So we do not know whether we're going to be in the black until the very end of the year. We greatly appreciate our generous donors, and we need a more stable source of funding. We've been asked why we cannot use our assets in lieu of more town support. A third of our assets are the library property. These are the leasehold improvements. It's the elevator, it's the carpeting, it's the everything inside. It's not the building itself. The town owns that. A third is our endowments. That comprises another third. And these are permanently restricted by the donors. But the endowments do contribute 4% a year of their balances over the last 3 years to our unrestricted funds. So they do contribute. The remaining third consists of temporarily restricted grant dollars, funds to pay liabilities, and unrestricted funds. We dip into our unrestricted funds for the $60,000 to $80,000 a year that's needed to cover our 10 months of operating deficits. Not only do we use these funds as a cushion, we rely on them as does the town on its capital and HERF funds. We fund capital expenditures from them. This past year we spent $12,000 on an ADA ramp and $10,000 on mold remediation. Expenses some might claim should be town expenditures as the town owns the building, but we absorb them. Future plan outlays that rely on these unrestricted funds are outlined in our 5-year capital plan, and that's in that additional handout that's available. Last year, the town supported 35% of our budget. At this year's town appropriation of $41,000, the town will support 33% of our budget. From the Vermont Department of Libraries database, the average town support of libraries is between 60 to 76%. So ours is at 33%. We'd like the town to move toward the state average, not away from it. Lastly, at the level of support we're requesting, the library tax burden on a $300,000 piece of property in Greensboro would be $49 a year. Craftsbury voters tax themselves at twice that rate, at $98 a year on equivalent property. We hope you'll support the library's need for the $41,000 appropriation. Thank you.
Further discussion on Article 10. Okay, we're ready for the question. The question is, shall the town appropriate the following sums to the organizations listed below? Greensboro Free Library, $41,000. Greensboro Historical Society, $6,000. Caspian Lake Beach Committee, $4,500. Greensboro Recreation Committee, $4,000. Greensboro Conservation Commission, $3,000, for a sum of $58,500. If you're in favor as read, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, say no. It's carried. Okay, Article 11, we get into the budget. Shall the town approve the proposed budget in the amount of $1,956,009, which contains the necessary amounts required by law and the proposed expenses for the fiscal year 2025, which is July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2025. This proposed budget amount includes the $94,323 of appropriations, which is now $96,823. Includes the $58,500 of the appropriation request in Article 10. Does not include the $500 appropriation request in Article 9. Does not include the $120,000 of the HERF, and does not include the $175,000 of the capital budget fund. Well, we've already passed those things, so can somebody who can add higher than 10 give me a number? Anyhow, let's have a positive motion on this, and then a second, and then we'll discuss it. Is there a motion? George. And a second. Second by Roseanne. Okay. So this is where we discuss the budget. And we will have a bottom line for you eventually. You guys want to say anything? Up or down? Or just take questions?
We can take questions, but we started meeting as a select board in September. We met every week from September through December or into December, probably had 6, 7, 8 meetings. And we feel comfortable that this is both a prudent and a budget which we tried to limit the increases to as little as possible without doing too much damage to any organization or parts of the town.
So while they're adding all that up, the school kids would like to do the drawing for the door prizes. Come on up. Like that. There you go. What do you say? Well, what are you doing? Yeah. Go Della.
Okay, sorry. They sold 88 tickets, so the winner will get $44. Pair it up. Yes.
Della Hall.
It's going back to the school because I wrote that on my ticket. Donate back.
Thank you, Della. Okay, if there is no further discussion about Article 11, the bottom line is going to be $2,253,509. So for this amount of money, it's appropriate that I read the whole thing as amended, which is, shall the town approve the proposed budget in the amount of $2,253,509, which contains the necessary amounts required by law and proposed expenses for fiscal year 2025, which is July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2025. Okay? Any questions? Jennifer, do you have a question?
Can you explain how you came up with that number?
I took it from what they said.
Okay, so how we arrived at that number here, when you look at Article 11. So how we arrived at that number, and Jennifer, you can walk through and just make sure that we did it correctly. I took the $1,956,009. This proposed budget amount includes the appropriations. I added the appropriations to this, $96,823. And then I added to that.
You added
Wait a minute, that was including
You
it.
took this and you added the 2,500.
Okay, right, we added the additional 2,000, and then the $500 for the Neighbors in Action, and then added to that the appropriations below, 120,000 for the HERF and 175 for the capital budget fund.
And that does, in fact, total
$2,253,509.
Okay. Everybody clear on that? Do I need to repeat anything? Are you good? I hear murmurings. Hand, Carl.
I'll just make a comment that's obvious to the casual observers, and I know you know this, but next year, can we have that number in the there, so we don't have to calculate it here? Please.
Yeah, I could write it up differently, but remember, you did make a change as well, too.
Well, the changes are understood.
Yeah, no, so noted. Yeah.
Okay, I just did the math the old-fashioned way with a pencil, and I came up with $2,253,509, exactly the same that they did. Okay? So we ready for the question, which is voting the proposed budget, which is $2,253,509. If you're in favor, please say aye. Aye. If you're opposed, you say no. Ayes have it. Article 12. Okay, this is weird. I'm going to read this, but there's going to be a change. Shall the town approve giving the Nature Conservancy gravel from Greensboro's gravel pit to be used as a base material for a new 50 by 80-foot parking lot at the trailhead for the Bar Hill Nature Preserve? The Nature Conservancy will be responsible for trucking any materials. I understand that this is not going to be voted on today, but Clive, you want to speak to this?
I'm Clive Gray. Town meeting in 2006 voted to give the Nature Conservancy town gravel for repairing the road, which we call Bar Hill Road, up to the nature preserve. The Nature Conservancy is very grateful for that position, that assistance from the town, and would hope very much to retain it, and feels that getting gravel just for the parking lot would perhaps detract from attention to the gravel for the road itself. So the Nature Conservancy has withdrawn this request for gravel from the parking lot.
Okay, so we just will not be considering this one, is that correct? Okay. Article 13, shall the town approve having the town treasurer serve as collector of current taxes and set the tax due date of November 7th, 2024. Taxes will be delinquent if not received in the office of the town treasurer by 4 p.m. on Thursday, November 7th, 2024. Moved by who? Janet. Is there a second? Second. Yes. Okay. Discussion? Got to pay them. Janet? Who are you? You can stay sitting.
Janet Malone. I just want to tell anybody that's a new taxpayer in town that you're definitely delinquent at 4:01 on November 7th. And do not use the drop box any later than 3 p.m. because sometimes it doesn't get counted. They look at it at 4 p.m. If nothing's in there, you don't count. I figure you have enough time because you have the bill for 3 months. So gather your money and pay it. Thank you.
You heard it here. Terry.
I'd like to say that's pretty cruel.
I'm sorry?
I think that, my name is Terry O'Connor.
Thank you.
I think that's pretty cruel. Because we're about to raise everybody's taxes in this room, right? We talked about that? We talked about raising the taxes, how much they're gonna go up? Because that's what I hear on the news, taxes are going up. I've been in the woods, but I hear taxes are going up. Are they? A surprise?
Our budget is up 9%, I believe. The majority of the taxes that we bill out are education. About 95 to 96% of the taxes that we bill out go directly for education. They aren't what we determine here at the town budget. So the education is where that tax money, the majority of it goes.
And farmers don't pay school tax, right? Do they pay school tax at all?
Every taxpayer pays taxes, education taxes.
No, everybody pays tax. There are deductions for different.
All right. Okay. My point with the tax collector is that 10 years ago I had rotator cuff surgery. My mother passed away, and I had to pay the taxes on her house in Woodbury. And I thought I came to Greensboro to pay my taxes here, and it was on a Monday, and I thought I was early. So I gave the check, and she said she couldn't take it. It was Monday morning. She said they were due Thursday night. Now, Thursday night, they're closed Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday morning. I don't get assistance on my taxes. I'm not in current use, so it's very expensive and very hard for me to pay my taxes and my mother's taxes. So I was told, can't take the check, you're late. I thought I was early, I'm sorry. That was it. I got a bill for $550 extra that was paid to you.
Yeah.
That's pretty nice, huh? There was a woman right behind me who I'm sure didn't have the money either. And did the same thing to her. 1 minute, you just said. 1 minute late.
That's true.
That's cruel. That's cruel. I don't care. That's cruel.
Okay, point taken. Are we ready for the question on Article 13? Yes. Did I vote this already? don't think I did. Okay, shall the town approve having a town treasurer, wait a minute, is that where we are? Yes, serve as a collector of current taxes and set the tax due date as November 7th, 2024. Taxes will be delinquent if not received in the office of the town treasurer by 4 p.m. on Thursday, November 4th, 2024. If you are in favor, please say aye. Aye. If you're against it, say no. The ayes have it. Article 14, this is a long one. Important, but long, excuse me. So, shall the town approve the following resolution? Resolution declaring the town of Greensboro to be a pollinator-friendly community. Whereas bees and other pollinators are Whereas bees and other pollinators are a necessary component of a healthy ecosystem and food system, providing pollination of plants in order to grow vegetables, herbs, fruits, and whereas locally grown crops such as apples, blueberries, strawberries, squash, and tomatoes depend on pollinators and thus are at risk, and whereas extensive research has documented that the N-word, and other neonicotinoid, there we go. I'm dyslexic. Systemic insecticides cause illness and death to bees, pollinators, and whereas alternative land management practices are available that dramatically increase pollinator forage while decreasing maintenance costs, and whereas the monetary and social costs of maintaining pollinator-friendly landscapes can be less expensive than costs associated with maintaining chemically treated monocrop landscapes. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the town meeting of the town of Greensboro, Vermont, that the town of Greensboro is hereby declared a pollinator-friendly community, and that the town encourages adoption of policies and practices that protect and support pollinator health by minimizing the sale and use of insecticides. Be it further resolved that the town of Greensboro urges all Greensboro property owners, residents, businesses, institutions, and neighborhoods to become more pollinator-friendly by adopting practices including committing to avoiding the use of insecticides, including systemic insecticides on their property whenever possible, avoiding the planting of flowering plants which are treated with systemic insecticides, planting more pollinator supporting forage on their property, and adopting chemical or chemical-free lawn and landscaping practices, reducing mowing frequency to allow for more native plants to flower and provide food sources for pollinators, and focusing on planting native species wherever possible to promote pollinator food and habitat. This resolution is non-binding and acts as a guide for the town of Greensboro to promote practices and activities to promote pollinators. This resolution was proposed by the Greensboro Conservation Commission. What is your pleasure? Is there a motion? Motion by Tim Brennan. Is there a second? Second? I'll pick David Smith this time. Okay, discussion. Tim, do you want to speak to this first? Sure. You made the motion. Coming at you.
Thank you. Tim Brennan from Greensboro. I'm very happy to be able to make this motion because encouraging native plants and pollinators is very important to both our agricultural sector and to minimizing negative impacts on bodies of water like Caspian and Eligo. This is a very strong movement right now in the United States promoting pollinators and native plantings. I'll just say that I learned a lot about this last year when I took the Vermont Extension Master Gardener Program. To my surprise. So anyway, I strongly support this. I think it's very good for the town. And it's non-binding. It's not like you can't ever hit some nasty weed with a little bit of Roundup. So don't tell them I told you.
Okay, Nancy.
Nancy Riga, this is wonderful. I would love to add something to it, which Might not be able to be done. Can you hear me? Oh, stand up. Leaf blowers. I think leaf blowers would be a good part of this also because what leaf blowers do to the ground. And the bees are doing that. Thank you.
We will take that under advisement. We're not going to add it on.
I'm Zorian Vacuum Gray.
Ryan is probably not on our checklist. Would you like to hear from him? Yeah. Anybody that opposes? Go for it.
So for one thing, I want to mention that I was surprised to hear, and other people were surprised in my family were surprised to hear that we do have quite a few endangered species in Vermont, including more than half of our bumblebee species, and far more than half of our bats, and several birds that are declining, such as bobolinks, nighthawks, and others. So this is an important issue because, again, these pollinators support our crops, and so I strongly support this, and I also support the leaf blowers if that change is possible, because a lot of animals live in the leaf litter, and that's a part of our ecosystem, plus noise pollution. So I also have something else for Article 15, which is an extra proposal in...
Yeah, you can do that under Article 15.
Okay.
Thank you. Other discussion on Article 14? No? Okay. Would you like me to read the whole thing again? Thank you. Okay. Article 14, if you are in favor of Article 14 as presented, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, say no. Very good. You didn't vote, did you? I couldn't see behind your mask. All right, Article 15. Yes, go ahead, Amy.
So I wanted to bring to the attention, to the meeting's attention, something else, which is that so I think this resolution is really important. I'm happy that people accepted it. And one way that we can actually support this further is there is a program with the National Wildlife Federation where you can certify your garden, your wildlife garden, with pollinator plants, native plants. And they have a project that I think the town should consider doing, which is called the Certified Community Wildlife Habitat. More than 200 towns have done this across the USA, both rural and cities, even counties, where a group of people, and I've been organizing a group who could do a project like this, will encourage wildlife and pollinator gardens by counting them, and they'll add up the number. That's how you get certified, and also by going to events and spreading the word of this. So I'd like people to know that there is a working group that has just been started by me, Lynette, Naomi, and some other people. If you're interested, right over there we have an email sign-up sheet, and there could be a couple handouts left. And I hope that we can try this program, the Certified Community Wildlife Habitat, where we try to encourage as many wildlife habitats as we can and turn them into gardens. Thank you.
Thank you. Penny,
This is a very short question.
where are you?
Penny Brett Snyder, and I have so much ice I slid around on this winter. I understood that residents of Greensboro could get some sand from the town, and the pile where the sand for the town is was not there. And I really needed sand this last winter, and I don't know what the future of this is, if that's too expensive for the town to support, or if that's a false rumor. So I'm just asking about salting the coming ice for our climate change.
We can only do sand, Penny. Salt is very expensive with sand. I'm not sure why Tom didn't have the pile for sand, but generally this pile of sand for community use is next to the road, and you can go in and get a 5-gallon pail, but we do not give out salt.
No, I misspoke. I didn't mean salt.
Okay. Sand, I'm not sure what that situation is.
I just got sand this week, and it's not near the road. I had to go around
and back, and this big pile of sand is easy to get to.
Downtown.
Yes.
Okay, nice.
Okay, are we ready for the most important question of the day?
Please.
John, you're on.
Okay, you ready? When is the 4th of July? I propose we do it, that we have the parade on July 6th, which is the Saturday. 4th of July is on a Thursday. The reason is that's the only time I can get our friends up in Glover to come down with the bread and puppet show. So, but if other people would like to do it a different day, I just need to know.
Everybody good with the 6th of July being the 4th of July?
Yes.
You're on. And if you'd like to have an entry in the parade, speak with Mr. Schweitzer.
Everybody's welcome.
Okay, back row. I can't see that far. I think it looks like Isla maybe? No, it's Patsy. Okay. Here you go, right behind you.
Mine is just something to think about, but when you were talking about the library, I think you ought to do something about parking on the side of the street. For one thing, most of the cars are parked on the going the wrong way, and I've had to stop many times when somebody else is coming up from Willie's because there's not room to meet two people there. They're going like that. And some of them are, seems to me like you could cut into the bank a little so you'd have room enough to get your car sort of off the road. You can think about it.
Okay, Jennifer, you want to speak to the library parking? Oh, you're going to be after Liz. Wherever Louis decides to head there.
Okay, let's deal. I just wanted to alert you all to a flyer that you may have received in your mailboxes this past week. Meacham and I have facilitated a group of energy efficiency volunteers from 6 towns around the neighborhood here. So Albany, Crosby, Glover, ourselves, Hardwick, and Stannard. And we are trying to, our mission is to enable homeowners to take concrete steps to improve the efficiency of their homes while saving energy efficiency of their homes, saving money on their bills as well as making them more comfortable. And we've got a number of different things happening this year. We are funded through a municipal energy resilience program grant that the town applied for the library building to upgrade the energy efficiency in the library building. But part of that grant requires us and encourages us to get more homeowners to do some energy efficiency activities in their own homes. So this flyer gives you a home action checklist for basic weatherization, and we are hosting an event on March 19th at Fellowship Hall. We've got 5 energy efficiency experts. Mark Snyder's actually left, but he's one of them. We've got Efficiency Vermont, we've got some funding experts for talking about how to help with financing your energy efficiency homes, projects in your homes. Coming to this event on March 19th, we have some flyers here, and you'll probably see a few different notices as I'm an over-communicator, so I will definitely be in your mailboxes or on your screens. We hope that you'll come. There's going to be childcare provided, there's also food provided, and we've got some fun weatherization prizes. So we're trying to spread the word as much as possible about some of the simple things you can do in your homes and some of the more involved things which might require financing, and that's why we're getting some financing experts there to support homeowners who might have some need in that respect. So any questions, please go to the library. Paula has got our numbers and can get in touch with us if we need something direct, or the library is also our kind of home for all energy efficiency ideas and resources at the moment. Thanks very much.
Mary Lee.
Okay, just to wrap things up here a little bit. The NEK broadband, which a lot of you have discovered today, is a wonderful thing. It's coming. It's coming. We'll have fast, high-speed internet access here in Greensboro. It will be starting in May, and if you wanted to look and see where it's going to be, it's all in this blue area right here, so it's around the lake, and up to Shadow Lake Road and so forth. So if you have not signed up for NEK broadband, come see me, because it's going to be the fastest, most resilient, cheapest way to do high-speed broadband. And that's what all these tall poles are for, because of the fiber optic line that's coming. That will be put in this spring, and as I say, it's all coming to Greensboro. They're going to get most of Greensboro done this year, between May 1st and the end of the year. So come see me if you have any questions or you would like to sign up. We need more people. We have at least 179 people who signed up today.
Anything else under Article 15, new business? Oh, yes, Kim and then Peter.
I just wanted to address Anthony's concern about parking near the library. Parking on the street is the town select board's purview, it's not ours. However, the library just has been looking at its long-term plans, and access and parking are a huge part of that. And that's exactly why we need a healthy, unrestricted fund. So, we're working on it.
Peter.
I hesitate to bring this up, but we have one more year on our driveway plowing contract. So next, yeah, I'm just asking for guidance. So before next town meeting, we will have to have negotiated a contract if we have a contractor who's interested, and we may not. Sorry. So I think it would be helpful if people are very much in favor of plowing or very much against it, because we have lots of different opinions about that in town. And I will say this, it takes an enormous amount of work on the select board's part to make this cheap plowing available. So it's not without consequences. It's not as cheap as it sounds like, actually, yes. So, I mean, we could have a straw vote. We've done that before. People are usually overwhelmingly in favor of it, but sometime I think we need some guidance if people are interested in this. It's going to be more money, because we're going to have to put some different provisions in it, because we had a couple of destroyed driveways that were not covered because it says, the contract says not liable for damage. So it won't be as inexpensive as it has been, still probably be a bargain. We just need to know if people are interested in it or not.
Are you asking for a vote now?
Yeah, you want to take a straw vote real quickly? Everybody in favor of continuing this, of getting a new contract, if we can, raise their hands. Okay, I think that's pretty clear.
Those opposed?
Yeah, opposed. Yeah, because you're the last one on the list. Yeah, so there is that also.
Are there other things to be brought up under Article 15, non-binding business? Erica?
I'm Erica Clark, and I teach kindergarten here, and I don't know if it's the right time and place, but we're starting an alumni association for Lakeview. You don't actually have to have graduated from here. That could be a different category, but we're just trying to get support and put the school out there. John Schweitzer has agreed to let the sixth graders lead the 4th of July parade, maybe in the Pierce Arrow if it's on the road. And maybe this new alumni association could walk behind and help lead the parade and, have a kazoo band or whatever they come up with. Anyway, so get in touch with Laura Lee or me or somebody at the school, and we'll let you know what's going on.
Okay, we'll get Ken.
Ken Johnson, I just have a question to the select board. The Bend Road was paved last fall, very late when it was already cold, and the top of it is falling off. Is there some plan?
Can I just answer it real quick? They did not have time to finish. They put down a base coat. The finished coat's going on as soon as the weather turns, and it'll look all brand new.
Okay. Mavis.
Just like Neil, I would like to thank Louis Lapeer for running the microphone all day.
Naomi?
Naomi Ramslicker. I would just like to reiterate a comment I heard Davis make, but I was asked to make it again, that I urge the select board to hold a meeting about the future of town hall, ideally without Rural Edge present, because I know a lot of people have questions about the future of town hall and would like to talk with the select board and amongst the community. And then I also, this is sort of raised at the end of every town meeting, but I would love for this community to consider ways to include more of the people who are currently working and unable to attend a Tuesday morning or Tuesday all-day meeting, because there's a lot of people I know in this community who aren't represented here and would like to be, and they can't attend this meeting, and it is, as we've seen today, the only time to vote on a number of things that we have that are really important to our town. So hopefully we will consider that throughout this next year so that we can do things a little differently next year. Despite the amazing turnout today, I think that this is incredible to see, so thank you.
Anything else?
Move to adjourn.
Neither amendable or debatable. All in favor of adjourning, please say aye. Aye. We're out of here. Thank you.